thank you so much for joining us on Insights on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. Today on Insight, we are rolling out the red carpet, not just for a guest, but for a living institution. If they be retired, probably on a golf course somewhere, enjoying a well-earned pension. But no, 35 years on, this man is still in the trenches. His pen like a sword and his voice like a trumpet. Yes, we are talking about the one and only Jide Ojo, author, journalist, public commentator, and the rest. A man whose name has become synonymous with fearless commentary, thoughtful analysis, and an ability to be interviewed on 67 television stations and 81 radio stations across 14 states and the FCT. Honestly, if he ever runs for office, his media rounds are already done. Jide Ojo is a journalist of no mean repute, and that's putting it mildly. He's a respected columnist with the Punch newspaper, where his pen has left no sacred cow untouched. He's also a public affairs commentator, a seasoned political scientist, and let's not forget, an election monitoring guru. If there's an election happening, you can bet Jide is either observing it, analyzing it, or writing about it. Sometimes all three at once. He is a proud alumnus of both the University of Lagos and the University of Ibadan, meaning he's twice as likely to correct your grammar and your political analysis in the same breath. Jide has written over 2,000 published articles, contributed to 13 books, published 3 of his own, and has spread papers than some people have attended weddings. Now, let's be honest, 35 years in this kind of work doesn't necessarily come with perks or fat bank alerts. Jide Ojo hasn't made fortune from his advocacy, but he has made something far more valuable. Impact, influence, legacy, and the respect of Nigerians across generations. Today, we are not just interviewing a guest, we are celebrating a journey, one of service, integrity, and unwavering passion for Nigeria. Please join me in welcoming to Insights the indefatigable, inimitable, ever insightful Jide Ojo. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, Lawrence. Good morning. It's a pleasure. Thanks for celebrating me. We share this glory together. You and I have come a long way from the days in the University of Lagos and also met on the field of the media practice. Thank you so much for offering me this opportunity and platform.
Thank you so much, Jide. You deserve this and much more. You can join the convent on our live stream on YouTube. Type in Citizen FM and you will be part of that show. You can listen online on www.citizenfm.ng. And don't forget, you can follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook at Citizen FM, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and on X at Citizen FM 937. All right, Jide, I know that we are supposed to look at a few stories. The ASO strike is there. There's a public hearing on Electoral Act review, and also the world is celebrating the girl child. But Jide, permit me before we get into this, for a while, for a change, let's talk about Jide Ojo. Congratulations once again on your 35 years of media advocacy. How does it feel looking back at this remarkable journey, Jide?
How does it feel? It feels good. It feels good that you are part of the change makers in Nigerian society and globally. It feels good that God has given me the platform to impart knowledge, to enlighten the public, to also contribute to national development. Starting, this is my venturing into media space was more like an open. And I said, as I said yesterday in my talk, which I shared on the media platform, it all was began in 1988 when I was attending A-level extramural class organized by the Department of Adult Education, University of Ibadan. And there used to be a lecturer then, Dr. OBC Wolise. He retired as a professor of political science. And, in class, he used to nudge us that all this aluta, as students, we are known for aluta. Aluta means going on street protests, barricading the roads, and disturbing public peace to draw attention to our issues. But Professor Nwoli said, just said, yes, aluta is good, but you can also do intellectual aluta. And that, some of this whole issue of barricading the roads and all of that has its own limitation because no authority will tolerate you to disturb public peace. So that some of you should also consider, writing for the media, not just as a professional journalist, but just sharing your thoughts and penning your advice to government on areas that they need to look into. And so it took me like 2 years ruminating over this challenge and this admonition. And eventually in October 1990, I decided to take up the challenge, and I wrote just a letter to the editor titled Complete Iwope Paper Mill. As at then, Iwope is a town in Ogun State, Waterside, and there was a paper mill that government was constructing, which as at then got over 300 million naira, but was not completed. And paper mills, we are, until recently when we are now going paperless, where people can store things on their devices and store in the cloud. We used to be paper, books are printed with paper, newspapers are printed, textbooks are printed. So you need the newsprint, importing this newsprint is costing the country a huge fortune. And I said, let government just complete this Iwope paper mill, and so that the price of books and printing materials could be brought down. That was my first challenge. And Daily Sketch in Ibadan, then under the Odua Investment Company, they have Daily Sketch, which is now rested, and decided to help me publish that piece on October 12, 1990. And from then to date, I've not looked back. Of course, the frequency of my writing between 1990 and 2012 were infrequent because, sometimes you just feel like you should write. You send it to newspapers, they may consider publishing, they may not publish, depending on how the features editor view your position. There are government-owned newspapers that will not publish anything critical of government. There are privately owned newspapers that, because of the interest of the publisher, may decide not to publish if you criticize belongs or stops. But nonetheless, I took it on, I was writing. But it wasn't only writing. I recall way back in 1992, I started writing opinion piece for Ogun State Broadcasting Corporation called OGBC. OGBC then had a program called OGBC FM Maybach 2084. OGBC FM Maybach 2084. It was a program, live program that was being heard between 6 and 7 p.m. every Friday. So they were welcoming contributions from the listening public, and I decided to just be sharing my thoughts, and I was writing, and they were reading it, and it was so exciting listening to my piece being read on OGB. And in fact, if I should tell you this, there is a friend of mine whom we met through this interactive That's Professor Sherif Folari. He's now based in US. He's a professor of political science. We actually met on the platform of writing for OGBC FMA back. Then later we met in the office of Mr. Nosai Osai Bobo, then the featured editor of Daily Sketch in Ibadan. And since that 1993, we became friends, long-term friends. So, that was how it started. Started when there was no computer, no ICT infrastructure, where you have to do long writing, then you take it to the typist, and then you sit with the typist and correct with text and then fluid and all of that. And then when you finish writing, you send it through NIPOST, through the post office. And you don't know whether it's published or not. What I did, what I did at that time was every week I would go to the library of the Daily Sketch in Ibadan and put all the newspapers I think I've written for to see whether those articles or those letters published. And I'm lucky to cite some of them, which I now photocopy and keep. I learned the art of documentation and archiving early in this, I don't know whether to call it a career. I start giving people details of my media intervention. They are amazed. I tell you, if a new radio or new newspaper or TV interviews me today, I already have an Excel sheet where I will quickly input the medium and then the date of that I have the first interview with them. It has helped me to track my intervention, because without that, I will have lost the golden opportunity to celebrate this 35th anniversary. But I want to thank you, my colleagues in the media space, for affording me opportunity, because from Daily Sketch and OGBC to now having about 81 radio stations interviewing me and about 80 newspapers, magazines, and also publishing my thoughts, and then 67 radio and TV stations. It's not by my making. Even if I'm brilliant than this, if I'm more intelligent than this, and nobody invites me, or I write those pieces and nobody publishes it, I would have long been discouraged. But many a time people will say, I got your number from a colleague of mine. He said you are the go-to person when it comes to political analysis. I got your number from my colleague in Oka, and they said if you are looking for a season, and that's how the number has grown across board. This already booked for an interview all the way from Uyo. I just came back from NTA Good Morning Nigeria just about an hour ago when we wrapped up discussing the forthcoming Anambra governorship election. So it's been like that, particularly since I left my 8-to-5 job, where I was, I resigned as a program manager with International Foundation for Electoral Systems and decided to go into full-time consulting. Many people thought I had my living as a journalist or as a writer. The answer is not, it's in the negative. I've never really lived off journalism practice. Even as a writer, on the side, I've been a society person. I've worked for a number of organizations from my early days, working with Association of Nigerian Authors to working with Electoral Reform Network, then moving to International Foundation for Electoral Systems, then working with UNDP, Democratic Governance for Development. So I've come a long way, NGO sector, or what we call the development sector. So the two have been mutually reinforcing, but we thank God for how far we have come.
All right, Jide, before we move on to the issue of the day, when you reflect on your journey, what gives you the most pride? What lessons have you learned about life and impact?
Don't despise the days of little beginning. Larry, one thing I've learned from my media advocacy is change is not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a marathon.
Okay.
Behavioral change takes a very long time and concerted effort to effect. Written an opinion on the Punch newspaper, which I write column for, which has been in existence for over 50 years, and several others. And you just imagine which editorial have they not written. And Nigeria is still the way it is. But the way it is. But you cannot just take one issue and continue with it. Your readers will be bored. So that's new with it. Your readers will be bored. So that's why sometimes when you nip at an issue, like this issue of ASUU strike, I recall that this was an issue I took up in my first article for the Punch newspaper in 1995. Please do the math. 1995, that was 30 years ago. I took up about saving our universities. That was the title of my first article in the Punch newspaper, saving our universities. And that was, responding to the issue of ASUU strike and all the restiveness in the academia. Today, ASUU has begun another 2-week warning strike. So you just wonder, warning strike. So you just wonder whether you are making impact at all. But the point is that one must be resilient. Because like I said, this is a marathon. It's not an 100-meter dash. You have to be persistent. Change yields only to pressure. Today, I have taken up issue of around electoral reform, putting pressure on the National Assembly to expedite action on the constitutional and electoral reform that they are doing, so that it can impact on future elections, so that we can have better elections than what we currently have. We've taken on so many issues, but it's about resilience, it's about persistence, it's about also, making your points with decorum. Many people believe that writing is synonymous with activism. It's not necessarily so. In the diplomatic circle, they will say a diplomat is somebody who can tell somebody to go to hell, and the person will be looking up to him to doing that, because of the very, very person who couch his message. It's not until when you insult government and people in government that you are making a point. In fact, it became when you abuse people in government, you make them your adversary, and they will resist you. I don't want to mention people who have been in adversarial journalism, saying nothing good in government, always pontificating, always saying only one side of it. And that is not what media practice should be. The media practice of today is developmental journalism. Am I concentrating developmental journalism? Where you look at all ramifications, look at all the issues, not just where I always see the cup has been half full, not half empty. It's a perception issue. Many people, when people say it's only in Nigeria this could have happened, it's a lie. Last week I took up the issue of averting another Gen Z protest in Nigeria. And when I was researching for that article, I looked at the Gen Z protests across the globe, in Madagascar, in Peru, in which other, there are about 5 countries. And I reflected on how the same Gen Z, including Kenya, with youth advocacy, youth protest,